Hello again everyone, it's me Matt, thanks for joining me. Let me know in the comment section what your favourite attack helicopter is. Ironically, this is mine, the Apache helicopter. It actually supported me during my time in Afghanistan. Some really exciting news just came out about this aircraft. Poland has just made probably one of the boldest attack helicopter moves on the planet. 96 Apache Guardians on order, 8 already on lease for training, and live Spike NLOS missile shots from Apaches over Polish training ranges. All of this happening while Russia is still, of course, fighting in Ukraine, and while Poland is quietly turning itself into one of the most heavily armed members of NATO on the eastern flank. I've done a couple of videos recently on how Poland is really going all out in trying to procure their own equipment and new military hardware, and it's fascinating. And in this video, we're going to unpack what this actually means, and it's not really just another shopping spree story. Poland really is lining up for a combined package of high-end helicopter systems with long-range precision strike missiles, and that also links with artillery, air defense, drones, and the Apache sits right in the middle of that network. And the recent Spike NLOS test shots really are a preview of what the future could look like. The helicopter's engaging targets are far beyond visual range while remaining outside the enemy air defense envelopes. Let's start with the hard numbers though, because they are quite impressive and they're important. In August 2024, Poland signed an agreement with the United States government to purchase 96 Apache AH-64E attack helicopters under the Foreign Military Sales System. Deliveries are planned between 2028 and 2032, which is an incredibly fast timeline, with around 15 of these helicopters expected in the first year. And also the first base prepared to receive them is going to be happening in central Poland. At the end of November 2025, the United States Army awarded Boeing a foreign military sales contract worth just under $4.7 billion to produce Apache helicopters for several customers. Of course, 96 of those aircraft are earmarked for Poland, and that single order is now the largest Apache order ever placed by a country other than the United States. There's reports adding that Poland is already leasing Apaches from the United States Army as training both pilots and maintainers on the type, so they're not waiting for 2028 to start building experience on the platforms. Financing is helped by a separate $4 billion loan that Poland secured under the United States Foreign Military Financing Program. It's interesting, you can literally finance and loan helicopters like that. It's like buying a Ferrari just with a chain gun underneath it. And part of the $11 billion program in American assistance is that supporting purchases like Patriots and Apaches also add to that list. Poland is now spending over 4% of its gross domestic product on defense, with a plan to go to 4.7%, which makes a top spender within the NATO force. When you look at defense at the share of economy that they're trying to drive, they are really going all out. When you put that all together, this isn't just a token buy though. Poland is clearly planning for Apache to be the core combat platform for a long time coming, and I wouldn't say really this is a political gesture, particularly when they're even looking at using the Spike missile that you can see these troops are attaching and the demonstration in Poland. To understand why 96 Apaches matter, you really need to look at what they're replacing. For years, the backbone of the Polish attack helicopter capability has been the Soviet-designed Mi-24 gunship, which is an absolutely incredible aircraft, but has its limitations. Those airframes are aging, expensive to modernize, and difficult to support in sanctions-heavy environments. Polish defense planners have been talking about how to either upgrade or replace them since at least the late 2010s. Together, there is a much bigger aviation refresh happening. Poland is bringing in the Leonardo AW149 multi-role helicopter built in Poland to gradually replace the long list of legacy types from the Mi-8, Mi-17 transports through to the Mi-24 attack variant and the W3 Sokol. Many of these airframes have been in service for more than 30 years, and on top of that you have new fixed-wing assets, drones, and a growing fleet of modern artillery and rocket launchers on the ground. The Apache really slots into this as a dedicated heavy hitter that can work with all of them in situ. The AH-64E Guardian is the latest version of the Apache family, with improved engines, composite rotor blades, upgraded sensors, better networking, and the ability to control unmanned aerial systems directly from the cockpit. Now let's talk about this Spike NLOS demonstration we're looking at right now, because this is where things get a little bit more interesting. In November 2025, the United States Army reported the Apache helicopters had completed Spike non-line-of-sight missile live-fire operational assessments in Poland and in the United States Central Command Area of Operations. These events were described as demonstrating the operational utility of the Spike NLOS system in a deployed environment in a European theater, and specifically noted that the missile adds long-range precision and greater standoff to Apache helicopters. Earlier in August, AH-64E version 6 Apaches fired Spike NLOS missiles at sea-based targets off the coast of Poland, engaging targets at ranges of up to about 25 kilometers. This was the first time Spike NLOS had been fired from Apaches in Europe, and the event brought a multitude of different observers and nations and industry representatives to see what it could do. The key point here is that these were United States Army Apaches operating in Poland, not Polish-owned aircraft, because Poland's Apaches are still on the lease or in production. But they were operating on Polish soil, over Polish ranges, and in direct cooperation with Polish forces, and this is very clearly paving the way for future integrations of the Polish fleet and anti-tank guided missiles. Spike NLOS is an Israeli-designed missile that can hit targets well beyond visual range, typically quoted out to fly around about 30 kilometers, although I believe they can go further. I don't believe the information being shared nowadays is fully accurate for obvious reasons, but the great thing with this system is it is a man-in-the-loop guidance system, allowing you to play with the missile as it launches, and there it goes with those giant fins coming off the side of it. Operators can steer the missile using electro-optical or infrared imagery all the way to the impact target or hand off targets mid-flight. Now for Apache, this opens up some really nasty possibilities for any opponents that it come across. The helicopter can sit low behind cover or even behind the horizon relative to the target, fire a missile that climbs and then dives onto the tank column or a ship or an air defense radar, and never expose itself directly to line of sight. Now this can be done with Hellfire and Brimstone and other kind of missiles with different kinds of optics in the environment, but this is all standalone to the aircraft. It does not require its own laser, it doesn't require its own guidance from other aircraft or, assets on the ground. And for Poland, that means that the future Apache fleet is not just another tank hunter, it becomes a long-range precision strike asset that can go after high-value targets deep behind the front, including ships in the Baltic, artillery batteries, and command posts with far less risk than traditional rocket or Hellfire runs. So how does this all fit into the bigger picture for Poland right now? Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Poland has been on the crash course to expand and modernize its armed forces. I've actually done videos on this expansion, including the South Korean K2 tanks, the K9 self-powered howitzers, American Abrams tanks, HIMARS rocket launchers, Patriot air defense batteries, and it's rapidly building up a territorial defense, and the Apache really sits inside that pattern very, very well. Now, if you can imagine a future crisis with Poland, Apache and Spike NLOS give Polish commanders a tool to hit Russian artillery, logistics, and command nodes across the border without necessarily having to push manned aircraft deep into contested airspace for long periods. The helicopter could work with drones and spot targets, receive coordinates over secure data links, pop up just enough to launch, and then drop back behind cover while the missile flies the rest of the way. This has come from direct lessons drawn from Ukraine, where artillery and counter-battery fire have been decisive, and where helicopters have been most effective when used carefully from standoff ranges instead of going on gun runs. At sea, the combination is equally interesting. Poland is investing in coastal defense and new frigates for the Baltic. Apaches with Spike NLOS give them the extra layer of anti-ship firepower that can be based ashore on dispersed pads rather than on small number of vulnerable ships. During the Polish Spike NLOS demonstration, the missiles were used specifically against sea-based targets, which is a clear signal about the intended mission set. All of this strengthens NATO's eastern flank in a very predictable and practical way. Of course, it's not all upside though. Helicopters have had a rough time in Ukraine. Both Russian and Ukrainian rotary fleets have seen serious losses when they flew too close to modern short-range air defense systems and shoulder-fired missiles. The reality is one reason why Poland paused a separate plan to buy Black Hawk helicopters, arguing that the war showed that not every helicopter purchase make sense in current environments, and that drones, tanks, and communications might sometimes be of higher priority. So Poland's Apache program has to learn from those lessons. That means investing heavily not just in the aircraft, but also training, tactics, and protection. With a helicopter like this, there is a lot of training involved. Crews need time to master complex tasks like using this missile itself from standoff ranges, integrating with drones and artillery, and operating under a dense umbrella of friendly and enemy electronic warfare. Infrastructure has to be built or upgraded at their bases as well to draw support to modern simulators, maintenance workshops, and also secure communications. There's also a simple question of cost. A $4.7 billion Apache contract on its own is huge, even for a country that is already spending more than 4% of its economy on defense. Operating at almost 100 Apaches with 30 years of service will add many more billions in fuel, spare parts, midlife upgrades, and munitions. Poland clearly believes that this is worth it, but will it compete with other priorities like ground-based air defense, more artillery, and continued support to Ukraine? The upside is that Poland is not starting from zero. It already has Apaches on lease, pilots in training, and direct support from the United States Army, and I do believe that they have the operational hype ready to go. They do have the ability to test these in combat environments because they've got a lot of experience from those who have operated them in combat environments and can kind of, I guess, test scenarios, exercises that work for that. The Spike NLOS test in Poland show that the industry and the military are serious about integrating the most modern weapons onto the platform. If Warsaw can keep funding and political support behind this program, then by the early 30s we could see a Polish Apache force that is not just a copy of the American one, but potentially even more tailored for a tool that's specifically designed for its geography for Poland and the threats of the eastern flank. It'd be a bit of a interesting dynamic, I would say, for Poland, having such an incredible aircraft on site if something went deadly. So folks, what do you think about the Apache gunship being used in Poland? Do you think it is a significant investment that's going to add value to their combat fleet? Or do you think it's a little bit too far-fetched and that maybe they're biting off a little bit more than they can chew? I would love to hear your opinion. Let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you on the next video. All the best, folks. Bye.